flamboyant, over-the-top, very confident woman who had a drinking problem. Let's not go there. I know it's very confusing learning French numbers with Harry Potter. Oh, hi there. Today we are going to watch Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. We're going to watch it in French and try to find interesting words and phrases. As I've already said before, it's more fun to learn a language with a movie, especially a movie you love. So let's watch this one together and see how it goes.
Lumos maxima. Lumos maxima.
So here we have a lumos maxima, and the thing about this moment, I think it's confusing for a lot of people, because in the last movie, The Chamber of Secrets, there was this fuss about not using magic outside of school when Dobby used the spell of levitation, and then Harry got in trouble for it. But here what I think happened was he wasn't using the wand to perform any particular action, to perform any spell. He was just lighting it up like a flashlight, because lumos is the spell for bringing light to the wand.
Tu es toujours là, toi? Oui.
Tu es toujours là, toi. So here we have two things. First of all, we usually use toujours to say always, but in this case it means still, so you can use it in both ways. And another thing is that we use toi at the end of the sentence for emphasis. For emphasis and to make a sentence stronger and to sound more like a native speaker. Instead of saying tu es toujours là, you can say tu es toujours là, toi.
Dans quel collège l'as-tu envoyé?
C'est un Brutus. Un excellent établissement pour les cas désespérés.
Pour les cas désespérés, for the desperate cases. And the word cas stays the same in both singular and plural forms. It doesn't change.
Que faisait le père de ce garçon, Pétunia?
Rien, il ne travaillait pas, il était chômeur.
Il était chômeur. Chômeur means unemployed. There's also another word that you can use, en chômage, unemployment.
Ivrogne aussi, sans doute.
Ce n'est pas vrai.
Un ivrogne, a drunk, which comes from the French adjective ivre, drunk.
C'est pas grave, t'en fais pas, Pétunia.
C'est pas grave, t'en fais pas. Here again we have two things. Grave means serious. The expression t'en fais pas means don't worry. You can also say t'inquiète pas. T'en fais pas is more informal and you sound more like a native speaker if you use it.
Il est temps que tu ailles te coucher.
Silence, Vernon.
Te coucher. So this is actually really important because you have to know the difference between coucher and se coucher, a reflexive verb. Se coucher, like it's used here, means to go to bed, to go to sleep. But when you say coucher without se, so when it's not a reflexive verb, it means to have sex with someone. And that is why coucher is not reflexive in the famous phrase
S'il y a une tare quelconque chez la mère, on retrouve la même tare chez les chiots.
La ferme! La ferme!
la ferme or ferme-la means shut up.
Ramène-la tout de suite. Ramène-la et rends-lui sa forme normale.
Non!
Ramener means to bring somebody back.
Ils ne voudront plus de toi. Tu n'as nulle part où aller.
Ça m'est égal.
Nulle part, anywhere or nowhere. Lots of people are confused about the bus. Why did it come to Harry? Why did it appear out of nowhere? And the fact is, Harry unintentionally called the bus because he was standing on the sidewalk and holding his arm with his wand in front of him. And that is how you summon the bus. It comes with this gesture.
Bienvenue dans le Magicobus. Transport d'urgence pour les sorcières et les sorciers en perdition.
En perdition means in distress.
Qu'est-ce que tu fais par terre?
Je suis tombé.
Je suis tombé. Tomber is used with être in passé composé. That's why we say je suis tombé and not j'ai tombé.
Qu'est-ce qui t'a pris de tomber?
Je ne l'ai pas fait exprès.
Faire exprès means to do on purpose.
Bon, allez, embarque. On va pas rester là à regarder l'herbe pousser.
Regarder l'herbe pousser to watch the grass grow.
Alors vas-y, monte. Non, 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 je m'en occupe. Toi, tu montes.
Je m'en occupe. So a lot of French students usually confuse en with e, these short prepositions that are used to replace other words. And the way you can remember them is that en is used to replace an object that was used with the preposition de. So So in this case, it would be je m'occupe de ça. And in order to not say de ça, you say je m'en occupe. And e is used to replace different words with the preposition a. So for example, on va à Paris. And then you say on y va, we go there. Why do wizards take this bus in the first place? It seems very uncomfortable. And there are other more convenient ways of travel in the wizarding world. You have apparition, you have brooms, you have flue powder, and you also have port keys. So why do they use the bus? And I think the answer would be that most of the traveling methods are controlled by the ministry, like apparition, like flue powder and port keys. And brooms in the bus are maybe among the few ones that are not controlled by the Ministry of Magic, maybe Thestrals as well. So that is why this bus would be a good choice for people fleeing something like Harry here. He's escaping the family and probably the employees of the Ministry of Magic. But also for criminals, for people who don't want to get detected and so on.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3.
Learning French numbers with Harry Potter.
Tu demandes qui c'est? Tu demandes? Mais c'est Sirius Black, enfin, voyons.
C'est Sirius Black, enfant, voyons. So here is a good example of how we use different filler words to sound more like native speakers or to sound more fluent. For example, he could have said c'est Sirius Black and we would understand him because he's just saying it's Sirius Black. And the words enfant, voyons are not translated, they wouldn't be translated into English. So these are just filler words that are used to make the sentence stronger. In this case, transmit the emotions of Stan, because he's amused how Harry cannot know who Sirius Black is. So he makes it stronger by adding words like enfant and voyons.
Il s'est retrouvé à la prison d'Azkaban pour ça.
Comment s'est-il échappé?
Comment s'est-il échappé? In this case, s'échapper is reflexive because we use s'échapper when we talk about escaping places. In this case, we have escaping the prison of Azkaban. And you would use only échapper without the reflexive part se if you want to say that someone escapes people.
Eh les gars, pourquoi ces têtes de 6 pieds de long?
Les gars is an informal word for the guys.
En tant que ministre de la magie, je dois vous informer, Monsieur Potter.
En tant que ministre de la magie, en tant que means as, so as a minister of magic.
Article du journal,
Je l'ai montré à personne.
Non, à personne.
The best thing about this movie is how dynamic everything is. So in every frame you have some magic happening. There's a teapot in the background, there's a moving spoon, there's a bottle disappearing. The portraits are much more alive here in the castle than they are in all the other movies. So you can feel movement and magic in every single shot, and it takes a lot of effort and it takes a lot of skilled professionals to do so much CGI, even in the moments that the audience will not probably notice, but subconsciously they would think that this movie is better, which they do because everyone agrees that The Prisoner of Azkaban is the best movie of the franchise. And I love it that they put extra effort to make it more alive, to give more energy to the movie.
Je l'ai montré à personne.
Non, à personne. À personne à part Tom.
À part Tom, other than Tom.
Tu te réjouis de retrouver Poudlard?
Ah oui, j'ai hâte d'y être.
J'ai hâte d'y être. Avoir hâte de means to look forward to doing something.
Et dans son esprit, toi, tu représentes le seul obstacle qui empêche, tu sais qui.
Dans son esprit. When we say esprit, we normally think of a spirit. But in this case, it means in his mind. So, dans son esprit, in his mind.
Tu représentes le seul obstacle qui empêche, tu sais qui, de revenir au pouvoir.
Revenir au pouvoir. So, pouvoir can mean different things. Most of the time you use it as a word for saying capability or ability, but in this case it means power. So, revenir au pouvoir, return to power.
Harry, il faut que tu me jures que quoi qu'il arrive, tu n'essaieras pas de retrouver Black.
Quoi qu'il arrive, whatever happens.
Vous croyez qu'il dort vraiment?
Il me semble. Pourquoi?
Il me semble. Great phrase that you can use instead of je pense que, I think that. You can say il me semble que. It seems to me that.
Sirius Black s'est échappé d'Azkaban pour te retrouver?
Oui.
Ils finiront par l'attraper.
Ils finiront par l'attraper. This is a future tense. And in French, we also use pronouns before verbs. So in this case, we say they will finish by him catching, even though we would translate it as they will finish by catching him. But when you translate it word for word, and in this exact order, it would be they will finish by him catching.
Tout d'abord, je suis heureux d'accueillir le professeur Hergé Lupin.
Tout d'abord, a linking phrase that is very frequently used in essays and in French language tests. It means to begin with.
Des années a décidé de prendre sa retraite afin de profiter pleinement des derniers membres qui lui restent.
Prendre sa retraite. Une retraite means retirement. So prendre sa retraite, take his or someone's retirement.
Fortuna Major.
Even though the fat lady only appears in 2 movies and in very short scenes, I would love it if they had given her more personality, because in the books she was this sassy and sometimes loud and over the top, very confident woman who had a drinking problem with her friend from another portrait. So that would be fun to see. Also, many people think of Dumbledore as this very powerful, very confident, and very collected wizard. But in fact, in the books, he was very silly, he was joking, he sometimes seemed not so serious, and that's how we could see the contrast between the regular Dumbledore, who was joking around, and the powerful Dumbledore, the wizard that everyone was afraid of, especially when he was talking to fake Moody in part 4 or when he was fighting Voldemort. So you could really see this contrast between his 2 personalities. On the one hand, he's very likable and you can trust him, and on the other hand, he's a very dangerous wizard.
Vous allez pratiquer cet art noble qu'est la divination. Dans cette pièce, vous saurez si vous avez le don de tout lever.
Le don. This means a gift. It can be both a physical object, like a present that you give to someone for a birthday or a special occasion, or like in this case, it can also mean a talent, so a metaphorical gift.
Présage le plus funeste qui soit. C'est un présage de mort.
Who is this guy? He's not in Harry's year, because I think they only have 5 people in Harry's year in Gryffindor. Harry, Ron, Neville, Dean, and Seamus. So who is this guy? He's wearing the Gryffindor uniform, but we know that different years don't have classes together, so he must be in 3rd year Gryffindor. But who is it?
Attends, c'est pas possible. L'arithmancie, c'est à la même heure que la divination. Il faudrait que tu suives 2 cours à la fois.
À la fois, at the same time.
Dépêchons, approchez-vous et on arrête de bavarder.
On arrête de bavarder. Bavarder means to chat, to talk aimlessly without any particular topic.
On va à volo dans cette école. Quand mon père saura que Dumbledore a nommé ce lourdeau professeur. Tais-toi, Malfoy.
Tais-toi, Malfoy. Se taire means to stop talking, to shut up, and it's a reflexive verb, se taire. That is why when we say shut up, Malfoy, we don't say tais, Malfoy. We say tais-toi, Malfoy. So the reflexive part travels from before the verb to after it, because this is a command and an order.
Je vous présente Buck.
Hagrid, qu'est-ce que c'est au juste?
Qu'est-ce que c'est au juste? Another great example of how we use filler words and phrases to give more emphasis, to give more emotions to the statement. In this case, again, we wouldn't translate au juste. Maybe we could translate it as really, but it only serves one purpose here, to make the statement more emotional.
C'est bien, Harry, c'est bien. Approche-toi.
Approche-toi. Again, another reflexive verb, s'approcher, to approach. And the same situation as with tais-toi, we put approche first and then toi.
Recule, Harry, recule-toi!
Recule-toi. Same thing.
Écoutez-moi cet idiot. Il en fait vraiment des tonnes avec son bras.
Oui, mais au moins Hagrid n'est pas renvoyé.
Renvoyer means fired, comes from the verb renvoyer, which sounds the same way. It's confusing, I know, but it makes sense somehow. So, renvoyer, fired, renvoyer, to fire.
Pensez au professeur Rogue avec les habits de votre grand-mère.
Les habits is a slang word for the clothes.
Oublions ça. À tout à l'heure.
À tout à l'heure, a very frequent phrase to use when you want to say goodbye, which means see you later.
Retrouver la grosse dame.
Inutile de faire appel aux fantômes, professeur.
Inutile de faire quelque chose. Utile means useful. Inutile means useless.
C'est lui, professeur. Celui dont tout le monde parle.
Celui dont le monde parle. Dont basically means of which, of what, of whom.
Vous ne pouvez pas pénétrer dans l'école sans l'aide de personne et sans être repéré.
Un véritable exploit.
The kids are trying to sleep and Dumbledore just doesn't give a shit. He's just talking very loudly.
Quand nous rêvons, nous entrons dans un monde qui n'appartient qu'à nous.
Un monde qui n'appartient qu'à nous. Ne que is a phrase that is usually used to say only. I know it's very confusing because there's a ne there, but it makes sense, I promise. Basically, the way you can remember it as not something but. So, n'appartient qu'à nous. Not belongs to anyone but us. Does it make sense? I hope so.
Ouvrez vos livres, page 394.
394. Yes, here we have very confusing French numbers because if you want to say 94, you need to say 94, which means 4 times 20, 14. It makes sense, right?
C'est la seconde fois que vous parlez sans y être invité, Miss Gunge. Êtes-vous incapable de vous dominer ou êtes-vous fière d'être une insupportable je sais tout?
Je sais tout. The same word as in English to say and know it all.
Et le match, qui a gagné?
Personne ne t'en veut, Harry.
Personne ne t'en veut, which means no one blames you. It may look like no one wants you, but it means totally different thing because of this short en. En vouloir means to blame. So, personne ne t'en veut, nobody blames you.
Mais après les vacances, pour l'instant, j'ai besoin de repos.
J'ai besoin de repos. I need a break because un repos means a break, a rest, time to relax from something.
Tu veux qu'on se rapproche un peu? Hein?
Qu'on se rapproche, se rapprocher, the same as s'approcher means to approach.
Oh, les sales cachetiers. Ils ne m'ont jamais parlé de la carte du maraudeur.
Cachetier means secretive. Probably comes from the word cacher, which means to hide.
Oh, c'est interdit aux sorciers de premier cycle. Fermez cette fichue porte.
Quelle grossièreté. Tête sans cervelle.
Tête sans cerveil. Cerveil means the same as cerveau, which is a brain. We have these words that mean almost the same thing, like jour, journée, cerveau, cerveil.
Sirius Black était et demeure aujourd'hui encore le parrain de Harry Potter.
Le parent means godfather, even though it sounds like a parent. Also, I cannot unsee Dumbledore's office here. Does this location look like it? I must not be the only person who noticed it. It looks like they were too lazy to build another set, to build another classroom, and they used all the same locations from the previous films, and I just cannot unsee Dumbledore's office. In the book, there was a very intense moment here where Harry, trying to defeat the Boggarts, the Dementors, heard his father's voice for the first time, because before he only heard his mother's voice. And when he told this to Lupin, who was one of his father's best friends, Lupin started crying.
Ronald a perdu son rat. Je n'ai rien perdu du tout. C'est ton chat qui l'a tué. N'importe quoi.
N'importe quoi means whatever. We've seen n'importe quoi used in the meaning like anything before, and it can also mean whatever.
J'ai dit que Buck est un bon hippogriffe, qu'il se nettoie toujours les plumes.
Se nettoyer les plumes, to clean the feathers. Se nettoyer is a reflexive verb, again, which is used when you talk about animals a lot because it means to groom.
Eh bien, Lucius a demandé le pire comme punition.
Ils ne vous ont pas fichu dehors.
Ficher means to fire. We've already seen renvoyer, which is why it's always cool to watch movies in the language you're learning because you have a lot of synonyms, because obviously the people who are translating it or doing the voices don't want to repeat the same words. So they use a lot of synonyms like ficher, renvoyer. Room of Doom. I don't think it was mentioned anywhere in the books that Hogwarts had the Room of Doom. I wonder why they put it here and what does it mean.
Pourquoi vous vous promenez la nuit dans les couloirs?
Je suis somnambule.
Je suis somnambule. Somnambule means sleepwalker.
Et se pavaner dans le château.
Mon père ne se pavanait pas. Et moi non plus.
Se pavaner means to strut. To agree with an affirmative sentence, you would say et moi aussi. To agree with a negative sentence, you would say et moi non plus.
Professeur. Tiens, Lupin.
Tiens means well.
Il se trouve que je viens de confisquer un objet très étrange à M. Potter.
This scene always confused me. I thought that Snape definitely knew the nicknames of the marauders. But as we can see here, he doesn't reveal this information, so that makes us assume that he doesn't know who created this map. Maybe he's such a good spy that he didn't want to show it in front of Harry? Because if he knew the nickname of his father, then he would definitely know that this is a map and where Harry got it from.
Espèce de sale petit cancre là, répugnant! Hermione, non! Il n'en vaut pas la peine.
Il ne vaut pas la peine. It's not worthwhile.
Vous voulez pas qu'on aille le détacher?
Ah, il saurait que c'est moi. Et Dumbledore aurait des ennuis.
Dumbledore aurait des ennuis. Des ennuis means troubles. It looks very similar to the English word annoy, which is how you can memorize it. Dumbledore will have a lot of annoyance. A lot of annoying things.
Excuse-moi.
C'est rien.
Excusez-moi, c'est rien. So this is a cool way how you can respond to someone apologizing to you. So you can just say c'est rien, which means it's nothing.
Où est-ce que ça mène à ton avis?
Je crois le savoir. Mais j'espère me tromper.
J'espère me tromper. I hope to be wrong, because se tromper means to be mistaken or to be wrong.
J'avais confiance en vous.
J'avais confiance en vous. Avoir confiance en quelqu'un means to trust someone.
Depuis quand le savez-vous?
Harry's parents died when they were very young, in their early 20s, I think at the age of 21. And that makes Lupin and Sirius here around 34, 35 years old, and they look terrible. I know that Sirius spent 13 years in prison, understandable. Lupin spent his whole life basically as a werewolf, transforming every month. By the way, do werewolves transform if there is no direct moonlight? So, because in one scene in this movie, he didn't transform until he saw the full moon, which is weird, because he could just hide inside a building and not transform. So the moon was definitely there before his transformation. And there was also a scene in Van Helsing movie where the werewolf also transformed only when there was direct moonlight on him. Anyways, what I wanted to say that Sirius has spent a lot of time in prison. Lupin was transforming into a werewolf for many years, and Peter here spent the last 13 years as a rat. So that's understandable why they all look way older than 34, 35. Snape is a double agent, spy, whatever. He must have a very stressful life, so that affects him as well. It's just a sad class reunion. Everyone is old and tired. I'm sorry. Speaking about class reunions, do you find it weird that the students of Hogwarts graduate at the age of 17, and then they should go and find a job right away. If there's no higher education, there is no wizard university. I mean, some of them might take a break between the studies, like a gap year to travel, like Newt Scamander. But how are they supposed to earn a living at 17? Like, what 17-year-old knows what they want to do in the future? How many jobs do they have to try?
C'est une vie étonnamment longue pour un rat des champs. Il lui manque un doigt, une patte, n'est-ce pas?
Et alors?
Et alors means and so what?
C'est très noble ce que tu as fait pour Petit Gros. Il ne le mérite pas.
Il ne le mérite pas. He doesn't deserve it. Mériter means to deserve.
Je comprendrais très bien que tu veuilles rester avec ton oncle et ta tante.
Such a sad story. All the Harry Potter books, Harry is always this close to getting everything he wants, to getting a family, a peaceful life, and no Voldemort, no responsibilities, but everything just slips away at the very last second. It's sad.
Gentil toutou. Gentil toutou.
Le toutou means a doggy.
Bonne chance.
Vous avez compris quelque chose à ce charabia?
Charabia, a very fun sounding word which means gibberish, another very funny word.
Non, il faut que Fudge voie Buck avant qu'on l'emmène. Sinon, il accusera Hagrid de l'avoir détaché.
Sinon, if not. And in English, these are two separate words. In this case, it's a single word.
Tu es folle.
Tu es folle, which means you are crazy. If you would talk about a male, you would say tu es fou, because fou is a crazy man, folle is a crazy woman.
Hermione! Qu'est-ce qu'il y a?
Je croyais avoir vu. C'est pas important.
There's a theory that Hermione saw herself there, saw herself standing behind the tree, and just didn't want to intervene because she knew that whatever happened has happened, or whatever happens is supposed to happen. I don't know about this time travel stuff. It's always mind-blowing when you start thinking about it, so let's not go there. Anyways, there's a theory that she saw herself, but because she knew how time travel works, she decided not to intervene and see how it goes from there. Oh no, don't eat the bats, you might get sick. And then you might have to work on Zoom for 2 years.
Quand on l'aura libéré, je n'aurai plus à retourner chez les Dursley.
It's so funny that he barely knows Sirius and agrees to live with him right away. Like, yes, please, take me away from the Dursleys, stranger, please.
On vous a renvoyé? Non. Non. J'ai démissionné, en fait.
Renvoyer is to fire. We've seen that before. You can also say ficher or virer. Virer is more informal. And the opposite would be démissionner, which means to resign.
Mais fait accompli.
It also must be so weird for those who haven't read the books. How did Lupin know about this map? How did he know how to use it? How did he know what words to say right away? But yes, the movies didn't explain it, but the Marauders, one of which was Lupin, created this map, which is very extraordinary for young wizards still at school. Okay, that would be it for today. Thank you to 40 people who watched this video. If you liked it, please subscribe and leave a comment below telling me what you think and which movies do you think I should do next. And you can find the link to different study materials in the description below. I'll see you next time.